I cannot be the best at everything. And my business can be very profitable if I stay in my lane and I stay doing what I'm good at.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hello, everybody. Andy Mulder's back, and last week, if you didn't catch it, we talked about how running an outdoor living company debt-free impacts your customer experience. Like, how do you focus on customer? Where do they fall into your mix? Are you high volume? Are you more focused on being a boutique where you just manage each and every client and relationship, trying to create the best possible outcome for them? So that was last week. If you didn't hear it, go back and listen. Now, Andy's back with us again. Welcome back, Andy.
Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So this is our last conversation for this round, at least. And what I'd love to, and we kind of hit on some of these things over the last few weeks, is what I first love a lot, and I've heard this a couple of times, is that you actually talk to your wife and use her as a soundboard for ideas. And I love that, right? So I want to get deeper into delegation. Not that that's delegation, but I want to get deeper into how running a debt-free company empowers you and impacts your ability to delegate. You mentioned in other episodes about how you don't change oil in your trucks or your mowers. Like, you just don't do that. You don't power wash at the end of your jobs, or these are small things that most companies would be like, of course, I got a guy, I'll bring him in on Saturday and pay him overtime to do that so I can keep him busy so I don't feel guilty, or whatever it might be. That's a rainy day type of thing. But I'd love to dig deeper into your philosophy around delegation, especially running a design build company, a successful one that's debt-free. Let's just jump right into it. So Andy, tell us a bit more about how you delegate, what your thoughts are on that, and where that comes from.
The first time I started hearing about running your company in a way where you do what you're good at, right? I am a landscaper. This is what I always say to myself. I'm a landscaper. I'm good at landscaping. I make money landscaping. I need to do that. That's my time is best spent doing that. I heard that on the Dave Ramsey show years ago. He talked about staying in your lane, and somebody had called in, and it was a business question, or he was talking, there was also a book, I think it's Thou Shalt Prosper. And he was I just remember something about that. And he was talking about about doing the reason that I can't remember if it was a certain type of people, whatever. I don't know. I've never read the full book, but anyways, that Thou Shalt Prosper book. But anyways, he talked about how the reason that these people were so successful is because they did what they are good at, and they hire people to do what they're not good at. It actually is opposite of how I was raised. My dad owned his own trucking company pretty much my entire life. There was years where he didn't. There was years where he drove a garbage truck. But majority of my life, he owned his own trucking company. And usually it was just him, just one truck. There was times when he had two, whatever. But anyways, I watched my dad my whole life working at night and on the weekends fixing his truck for different things. Always working on the truck. Always something wrong. Always something that he could do cheaper or whatever. When I started my company, and maybe before that, I would work on my own stuff. I would change my own oil. I would do brakes. I would, whatever. I can do house projects. I can do that stuff. But as I started the business, and I've been an avid listener to Dave Ramsey my whole life. Well, not my whole life. What am I talking about? Pretty much my whole married life. So 15 years been listening to him. The Entre Leadership Podcast is a huge... If anybody is not listening to the Entre Leadership Podcast, you need to go do it. It's phenomenal. But anyways, I started to think about that. And then as I started to grow my business, and of course, my natural reaction is to do what I know, is to fix what's broken, because I can fix it faster. I can fix it cheaper. That's what I'm going to do, because that's what my dad did. That's what I know of, that I'll fix it, right? And then I quickly realized that I guess I'm not as good at what my dad could fix. My dad could fix a lot of stuff, but he also spent a lot of time working on stuff, and a lot of weekends and a lot of nights. Of course, there's a lot of things that I've learned because I would go and help him or hand him tools. There's a lot of life lessons that I gleaned from that. But on the other side of it, there's a lot of times when he was working on his truck, whatever. I definitely am not going to sit here and say my dad, like I didn't see my dad, or he missed things because he was working on stuff. I can't say that at all. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But I quickly realized that for me, I only have a certain amount of hours in the day. I have the same amount of hours that everybody else has. And if I spend my time, I have to choose, right? Am I going to spend my time fixing this mower that broke at night, or I broke on this day, and not be home for dinner, or not be there to help put my kids to bed? Or maybe I am stuck working on this piece of equipment because I need to get it working, and I didn't go to an appointment that I could have sold a job for that makes me a lot of money. So I quickly realized I can't do everything. I cannot be the best at everything. And my business can be very profitable if I stay in my lane and I stay doing what I'm good at. What is Andy good at? He's good at project managing. He's good at selling jobs. He's good at giving the customer experience. And if he wants to be a good dad and a good husband, he needs to be home after work. I listen to Dave Ramsey. I listen to some of him talk about delegation, him talk about staying in your lane, doing. I also learned that I get very frustrated when I can't. Every time I tried to fix something, I wouldn't get it done as fast as I thought I was going to, and I didn't have what I needed, and I screwed it up more. And it's just and then I ended up taking it to a mechanic anyways. Right?
You and me both.
So you kind of, I'm also a hard-headed man, and I still, in the beginning, it was no, I'm going to fix this. I can do it, whatever. It's just not my skill set. I found a mechanic that we use. We bring everything to him. I don't teach my guys they can check the oil. That's fine, but they don't need to know how to change the oil. Bring it to the guy that changes the oil. It will always get done faster. You have somebody to call when it breaks the second time, because if it breaks the second time, the only person you're going to call is your own stupid self for not doing it right the first time. Right? And my team is not hired to be mechanics. We can patch a tire. Sure, that's fine. We can change a tire if we need to, but I don't. Anything above that, I have a mobile mechanic. The mobile mechanic is not cheap. Every time I get a bill, I'm like, that hourly rate is brutal. But you know what?
Yeah.
He sat out there in the rain and fixed my excavator hose that just blew.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to get my wrenches out in the rain and take the hose off and go drive 30 minutes to get the hose fixed and bring it back. I make money landscaping. And if I'm not landscaping because it was raining, I should have been in my office selling or designing a job that could make us 50 times what that mechanic charged me to fix that hose. So things get done while I'm still doing what I am good at. The second that I stop doing what I'm good at to go try and get sidetracked with this over here, it never gets done faster. And it never is done as good because I am in a hurry. I have too much stuff on my plate, and the last thing I need to do is sit in the rain and change that hydraulic hose because it needs to be done for the next morning when we need to be productive. You know what I mean?
Yep. 100%, dude.
And there was a time 2 years ago when I called my mobile mechanic. My excavator needed an oil change really bad. And he came out, and it was in the pouring rain. And I remember, I sat there in my truck, and I'm like, oh, man, I feel bad. He should be in the rain. I'm like, screw that. It's 4:30, and I'm going to go home and have dinner with my family while he does what he's good at. And that's what I did. And it was sometimes it's not a financial thing. Sometimes it may cost me more money. But in business, you have to understand that, it may cost you more money, but you may have been able to be home for dinner that night, or go to your kid's soccer game, or bring your kid to Awana at church, or help your wife out because she couldn't go pick up the kids from school. For me, my wife works. And so there's times when we juggle this kid's schedule and what has to go.
Oh, yeah.
And I need to make good decisions like that because I love my wife and I love my family. And my first responsibility is to them, right? Now, I have a responsibility to provide for my family, but I also need to be smart in a way that allows me to be a good husband and a good dad and also provide for my family. And so if you want to work on your own stuff, that's fine. Then you need to sacrifice somewhere else because you can't sacrifice your family time and you can't sacrifice your marriage because you have to stay every single night of the week at the shop to work on your stupid equipment. Your wife doesn't care. She doesn't care about your equipment. Get a mechanic and fix it. And if you can't get your money right and get your budget right and get your pricing right to be able to afford to do that, then you're doing it wrong from the beginning. You need to go back farther in the process. I don't, as much as I can, when it makes sense, I don't go and get my own materials from the supplier. I pay the delivery fee every freaking time. The other day, I paid for one pallet of flagstone on a truck with a Moffat or whatever. I paid them like $250 to bring me this pallet.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to, if I leave, or I always say me, but it's also my team, right? My guys make us money when they are producing landscaping. They don't make money when they're getting material from the supplier.
Yep.
I don't care. I've had them bring me 2 plants before in the box truck because I don't want to drive or send somebody there with a pickup to go pick it up. They could stop at the gas station. They could get pulled over. They could get in an accident. They're not producing on the job site. It's a double whammy. You think you're saving $150 on your, or $100, or, by us, it could be as low as 50 or as much as $250 for a delivery charge, depending on the radius of where we're at, right? Mm-hmm. Every time it's cheaper to pay the delivery fee. I don't care if every delivery fee was $250.
Yep.
It is drops in the bucket. The second that employee leaves or you leave, you lost more than $250 every single time. Not to mention the time. So you not only are you not productive, you're you're not making money on that delivery fee. And the price to do this job, to do the job that you're on, should include delivery fees on materials. Because if the client was going to go and do this job themselves, they don't have delivery trucks, they don't have skid loaders, they don't have tools and supplies. They would have to rent all that stuff or buy all that stuff. So you need to be charging for it. That is how you have to price the job. I mean, that's a pricing.
Preach, brother.
I'm just saying, like,
I love it.
you can't think I am a landscaper. I'm not a mechanic. So the cost, the mechanic thing, when I see people changing their own oil, it's just like, you guys got to pull your head out of the mud. Get out. You have oil in your face. Seriously. Like you can't, you have as a business owner, you have zero time to be changing your own oil or mowing your own grass or cleaning your own house. I'm sorry. Like I don't have time. My family doesn't have time. And the time that I have is finite to make money. And so I need to do exactly what I am good at making money. And sometimes, again, going back to like cost of things, sometimes it's a cost of getting your time back with your family. So like we don't clean our own house. If I didn't own a mowing company, I would pay someone to mow my own grass. I will never mow my own grass again. Even down to like the podcast that I do. I could spend 30 minutes mowing my grass, or I could record a podcast that helps build the brand or makes me money. Like whatever. Like, or I could just say, no, I'm going to spend 30 minutes with my kids. It's not always about making money. It's about my time is finite. And so do I either want to get it back to go and build the business, or do I want to get it back to spend time with the family, right? Because if you just work your whole life, what did you do it for? Right? Yeah. We all talk about going into business to have more freedom. Well, don't go into business if you think you're going to have more freedom, because you are not going to have more freedom. I was up 3 times last night for no reason, thinking about something that had to go on in the next 3 days. And that is 10 years. That is how it goes. Okay. So it may not look like I'm working, but it is always working in here. You do not get freedom when you own your own business. But if you want to try and get freedom, in some things, you have to pay other people to do what you're not good at.
Yep.
Like, and that goes back to the office man. Like, once I hired an office manager, it was like, oh man, like I'm doing this fine without an office manager. I can answer the phone. I can do all these things. I only have so much capacity. And what I found myself doing was I would get really frustrated on job. I like to be on the job site. I think for me, I really need to hire a designer and someone that can help sell, because I am the best on the job site. That's what I think. I can design, I can sell. Maybe I need to still sell, but whatever. Anyways, when I was trying to do it all, my phone would ring all day. I'm trying to get stuff done. I'm getting frustrated because at that time, this was 5 years ago, at that time, I would answer the phone and everybody would stop and stare and wait for me to get off the phone until we can keep going, right? And we're moving past that now. But I'm just saying, like, I had to find a way to keep me doing what I'm good at. So yes, I'm adding this overhead cost of someone to answer the phones, go get the mail. Like I don't ever go get my mail from my post office anymore. I have somebody that does that. I don't make a deposit to the bank anymore. I have people that do that. All of these things give me more margin in my life to either spend it in my personal life or focus on how I am the most profitable in the company. And you have to do that stuff. That's the same thing with like the money that I pay Stephanie to do all my finances. It's not cheap, but it's the best money I could spend because I'd be doing a poor job at it because I'm not focused. And you have to learn to do some of these things if you want to. Like, people may from the outside may look at what we're doing and think, how does he do that? Sometimes I look at other business owners and I'm like, how do they do that? How does a guy like Dan Wasson run a giant company with 150 people? How does he do it? He does it because he delegates, right? And like Dave Ramsey wrote a book called Delegation. It's a very short read. Everybody should read that book. It's easy to read. I read about 1.5 books a year, and that was an easy book for me to read. I'm not a reader. I should be more of a reader, but everyone should read that book. It's very practical. It's exactly what we need as business owners is something it's, I don't know, maybe less than 100 pages long. It's phenomenal. So reading that book was super helpful. He talks about letting out the rope a little bit. Sometimes you have to bring it in. It takes time. You have to train. That's like employee delegation and team delegation, but you have to get your head out of the sand and focus on how you make the company the most money. And I am a landscaper. And this is going to really trickle hard into when we build this building I'm about to build, hopefully next year, and develop this property. I can project manage, like I could totally project manage that whole job. I guarantee it. And I probably would do really good. But the one thing that would suffer is my landscape company. And what makes money? My landscape company. I bet you I could bury my company in 1 year by trying to project manage that building. Everything in me is like, Andy, you should just project manage that company. No, I am not a construction. I do not build buildings. I could build buildings. I could totally do that, but I would not sell jobs. I would sit there all the time and watch it go up, and I wouldn't manage the projects that make us money. And so what am I going to do? I'm probably going to spend $200,000 more on project management to build that building and develop that land because I need to focus on my landscape company. If I focus on the company, I could make way more than 200 grand. It's going to cost me to pay someone else to do that. I do not build buildings. I'm not an earthwork company. I am a landscaping company. And you have to stay in your lane because I don't have the team. Now, there's companies that have the team to give them the margin to go and project management that thing or go and focus on something else. That is not where I'm at, and that's not where I want to be at. We've said it in previous episodes. We are lean and mean, and we are a small company, and we do one project at a time, and I'm very involved, and I like that, and that's fine. I can leave when I need to leave. We go on plenty of vacations. We do a lot of great stuff. Very blessed to be able to do those things. But I think I'm able to do some of these other side things because I'm very focused on my landscape company. I'm telling you, like, there is nothing better than coming back to the job site when something is broken and having someone else fix it, and you go right back to working. It just, there is so many times. Same with material delivering. I'm telling you, the amount of time wasted in the freaking landscape yard supply it would blow your mind. Like tarping trees. Like I did it one time this year. I had to go get some trees because they were completely booked and I waited too long to order, and I had to go and get the trees. I was there for 45 minutes getting the trees, tarping the trees, strapping everything down. Everybody wants to chit chat. When I left there, I was pissed. I'm like, this was ridiculous. I don't care if it's one tree. They will tarp it. There's some people that say they don't have vendors that will do that stuff. I don't know. Find someone, because you got to get out of the business of trying to be a delivery service and a trucking company and a mechanic shop. And you are not, that's not what we do.
What I love about your message and why I didn't jump in is because you're just so passionate about this, and it's so needed to be heard. I know when I first started out, I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do all this stuff like a jack of all trades. I'm going to go get all my stuff, save some money here. It's always about saving money as opposed to making money, right? You're so focused on saving that you're not actually making. So knowing your lane, I love that language because it's true, knowing your lane. And I truly believe at my core, one of my guiding principles is that, God's given us all special gifts. And it's our obligation throughout life to first discover them, then to master them, and then to share them, right? And if we know that we're really good, like say in your story, that you're really good as a project manager and you're a landscaper, and you know that's to be on site, to be in there with the guys in the trenches is your thing. Why are you doing anything else? Like if that's where you're most, I'm going to use this word loosely, dangerous, right? You're in there, like that's where you can be the best you can be for your company. Why are you doing anything else? Honestly, like cleaning your house, or even cleaning your garage for that matter, or building a building, or going to the yard to get equipment or materials or any of that stuff. Like why? There's zero reason for that. And the only reason why most do, and the reason why I did, is because I thought about how much I could save if I did it, but not realizing how much time I was losing or momentum I was losing on the job. Right? It was this constant push and pull. But then when I got the bill, I'm like, oh, I could have done that for, it cost me what, $30 for fuel back and forth. You never think of the time. Time just doesn't matter. Like 30 versus
But
250,
man,
250 is more.
it matters so much. Oh
I
my,
know it's huge,
it
right?
is.
But
And the
once you get
older
in your lane,
the
once you
older
get
I
in your
get,
lane
yeah,
and you know exactly what you're doing, and you're like, okay, this is who I am and this is who I am not. These are the roles that I play in this company, and these are the roles that I do, we do not, whatever it might be. How fast can I delegate as much of this away so I can stay in those gifts? And those gifts are going to be defined as whatever brings you the most joy and fulfillment consistently.
yep,
So go through your life and figure out what brings you the most joy and fulfillment on a many day basis, and you're like, okay, now your gifts live somewhere in there. And it sounds to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like for you, that's being out on site and seeing things happen, seeing building happen, earth moving, things like the project growing. Mrs. Jones looking out of the window with a big smile and a tear in her eye because she's been waiting her whole life for this, right? It's like that's what lights you up. So that's where you need to be. Sitting in a truck going to Lowe's picking up a couple of plumbing parts is not that.
no,
So anytime you can get that done for you, and there's an old adage that I've only recently in the last couple of years really started to pull into heart. And it goes like this, Andy. It says, he who chases two rabbits catches neither. And how often do we do that in business where we just start chasing all these rabbits and all these things because we're like, hey, who else is going to do it? I'm the best at this. I'm the best at, like, nobody. And all of a sudden you don't delegate because you think you're the best. And sidebar here, you're probably not. We mentioned in other episodes, you're like, man, I love replacing myself with people that are 10 times better than me. And then watching them go, baby.
It's the most life-giving thing.
Oh, it's incredible to watch. And you're like, holy crap, they're so much better at this than I.
Right.
I thought I was the only one that could do it. And now all of a sudden they're doing it. And so go through, I mean, listeners out there, go through your life and think about things that don't bring you joy. And ever since I've met my wife, and we've been married 19 years, going on 20 years this year. When we met, she's like, all right, so once we have a bigger house, I'm going to have cleaners come in and clean the house because I don't like doing that. And I'm kind of like in the beginning, like I grew up in a farm where my mother did all that stuff. Always.
For
she
sure.
cleaned the house, all that stuff. So I would never think of bringing somebody like outside of like my family to clean our house. Like, is that for me? I struggle in my heart. I'm like, is it lazy to not just clean your house? I mean, how hard could it be? And then she took it a level further and she's like, I don't like cooking, so we're going to hire someone to cook too. And I'm like, what? I'm like, do you know how much all this costs? She's like, do you know how much we're losing when we're doing things that we don't want to do? She taught me these things, right? So it's so crazy. To this day, we still have people that do those things.
Yeah.
And we now have more time to spend with our family one-on-one with the kids and to do things that do light us up. And she's a chiropractor and she spends more time, learning and being with her patients. And it gives us time to be more free. But, oil changes. That's one of the things. I love how you said that because that's one of the first things we delegated when I was with the family company. The first 15 years, I said, there's going to be a day in the near future that we're going to make enough money that when the engine goes bad, we don't have to replace it. When the transmission blows out of the transfer case or the tires or the brakes, like we did all of those things on the farm. Like we learned, like you mentioned your father, learned all of those things. But then I'm like, we spent an entire day with no real ending in mind. We didn't know how long it was going to take to swap that engine out. We figured it was a day. Pretty soon it's a week because you can't get parts. This doesn't work. We had one time we put in a used diesel engine out of a junkyard, put it in, the thing knocked like crazy, took it back out, put another, they gave us it for free. Of course, the new one, right? They replaced it, but then having to spend an entire another day of taking it out, putting another one in, like all this stuff. And I said, the number one thing we're going to do as soon as we can afford it is to hire all this out. Like anything equipment related. I don't care if it's changing tire pressure. I'm like, we're taking it to the shop. They're going to come to us. Like, I don't care what it costs. Equipment the same way. All the maintenance, get it done by somebody else. And that was a big step. Then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not unhappy about that not being on my plate anymore. What else can we delegate? What else can you start asking? Like, what else? What other hats? Oh, it's going to cost money. No, you need to cost Wes Zimmerman over there at Synced Up and get your shit straight in the beginning so you know what you're going to charge for this project. So this is already covered from day one. You know it's going to cost you about 10 grand a year for maintenance. Put it in your budget. And then when you call those guys, you're like, I already got a budget. That's good. We only spent 7. Good. We got 3 grand. Who can we give it to?
Exactly.
Right. But it's getting ahead of it and not being so like surprised by these things happening, but be ahead of the game and know that it is coming. Correct. And being able to delegate these things. And if you're not in your lane, if it doesn't bring you true joy and fulfillment consistently, not every day, not many things will bring you true joy and consistency every single day, right? But that'll bring you the most. And you say, okay, how do I stay in that lane?
Yep. That's right, man. A personal side to that kind of a thing is when I moved all my business stuff out of my backyard, for years, me and my wife were saying she really wanted to have somewhere that she could see from our kitchen window that the kids could play basketball on. She said, wouldn't it be cool after you move that stuff out to pour a pad back there or whatever to play basketball on? And so literally 2 weeks after I moved everything out, I found a concrete guy and I said, come over here. I need this size of a pad poured and I want to put it for a basketball hoop. And he's like, well, do you want to get it ready? Do you want to prep it? Well, you would think like, yeah, I would want to prep it, right? I initially said yes, because like, yeah, we'll just do a Saturday, me and the boys, we'll get it prepped. And I looked at my schedule and my workload and our personal life, commitments. And it's like, this is never going to happen if I say I'm going to prep it, because I do not have time to do this. And I called him back. I said, dude, I don't care what it costs. I need this pad poured and I need you to do it all. And he came and he did it. And I kept working. And we went and had the family stuff on Saturdays when we were going to do it. And we had Dadder Day. Like I have this thing called Dadder Day that we do with our boys where we'll go and hang out and play at the property or play at the shop or whatever. And they're with me all day. We call it Dadder Day. Anyways. And then we needed to get the basketball hoop, right? And so I wanted to have this. I wanted to have like one that goes up and down, right? It's a nice hoop. It's going to be there. So I ordered the basketball hoop and the guy's like, well, do you want to put it together and pour the pier and to put it in all this stuff? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, me and my guys could probably do this. And it's the same thing. It's like, it's not going to get done if I say I'm going to do it because I am super busy. And like, I want to be able to play basketball with the boys. So whatever, it was $350 for them to come and pour this pier and put the hoop up. And 2 weeks later, we're playing basketball out there together. Now, there's things about hard work and teaching, and I'm teaching my boys that. There's other ways that I don't have to do everything to show them what hard work is and what gravity. I don't need to do everything to show them that. I'll show them that in other ways, but like there's different things in life that it's like, I need to get this done for my family, and I need to still be able to keep producing and making money, but then I also need to be there for my family instead of spending all day doing these other little things. Like, I want to teach my boys how to do this same stuff, the same thing I'm doing. I work super hard. I don't need to prove to someone how hard I work. I know I work hard enough, and they're going to see that, and I'm going to teach them that. But I'm also going to teach them some of these other things about finding something that you love and being really good at that and doing that. And it allows you then to be able to do more and let other people do things that you're not good at. It's a shift in a lot of things that I've been taught. It was always like, do it yourself, do everything yourself. But it's not a bad thing. It's just a different way of living. And I think I can still teach them work ethic and all of those things by I don't have to build the basketball hoop myself. Right. So
100%.
I just kind of something I wanted to add there that I was thinking through that I did this fall as an example of, I've never read that book, Buy Back Your Time. Maybe that's what it talks about, but you're buying back your time and doing that kind of things.
You are, because time is your most precious asset. And if you're just pissing in the way, one day you won't have any more. And you can't buy that back, right? So you need to do that ahead of time. And, the last thing I want to talk about here in closing, you brought this up in the first week we were talking. You talk about how much you glean from your wife and how you use her as a sounding board. And it's something that, I've been married almost 20 years now, in a 19th year. And I have in the past done that, like, asked and talked, and she would give me some insider perspective that was different. But I found at times when I just didn't bring things out because I feel like as a guy, that I had to figure it all out myself. Right. And I didn't want to have that extra support because that makes me look weak or whatever. I don't know. I had a lot of that head trash. And, over the years, I started realizing that, gentlemen out there listening, you have such an opportunity to be able to speak, and your wife might not understand your business, might not understand what you're going through, but to go on a walk with her, just do whatever you guys do for time together, and to be able to just speak what's in your heart and in your head and things that are holding you back or things that you're scared about, you'd be surprised by how supportive she's going to be and how much she's going to be able to give you a perspective. My wife and I, we take a walk every morning, and I talk about stuff. She talks about stuff. And I had to learn as a guy that she's not asking me to fix everything, right? That's one of the big lessons first, because we're wired to be Mr. Fix It. So when we're walking along and she says something that's going on in her practice, and I'm like, okay, cool. Here's 3 ways you can fix that. And she's like, she gets mad. And I'm like, what are you mad at? Like, I just gave you gold. Like, why would you be mad at?" She goes, "I didn't want you to fix the problem. I just want you to listen." I'm like,
That's
then why the hell would you ever say something to me? Like, why would you tell me if you didn't want me to fix it? Because that's how our brains are wired, right? We have to be very aware, gentlemen, that isn't always what they want. So I've now created a little rule where I'm curious, if I feel like I want to go to Mr. Fix It, I say, "Honey, would you like me to fix this problem, or am I here just to listen?"
it's
And
so
she's
funny.
like,
Literally, I was going to say that, and literally I just straight up ask now.
"Yeah,
Like, is
yeah,
this somewhere that I'm listening or somewhere that you would like me to respond?
exactly."
We
Right.
literally yesterday had that same. I said that to her. It's so
But
funny.
but as guys, right, we can get really frustrated when they don't listen to us because we can solve their problems quickly, but they don't want it solved. Women are wired differently. But
Mm.
that's where the gold is, though. The gold is the fact that they can hear something that we're telling them and that we can't see a path through, or we're frustrated with. And they may say just such a small detail, or say, "Have you ever thought of it from this perspective? Perhaps this is the opportunity." And man, so many doors have been opened up in my mind and in my life because I've been humble enough. God calls us to be humble, right? To be humble enough to listen and not be like, "Well, I'm the man, you're the woman. What do you know about my business?" Because they have a perspective that we don't have. So I love that you gave your wife credit in the beginning for that in the beginning. And same with me as I'm moving, into our lives and into our, not golden years, but we're not even 50 yet. But the point is, to say, are there resources? And that's not delegation per se, but that's an opportunity to see another perspective that already loves you, knows you, wants to see you succeed. Like, all of
Mhm.
these things, like, what perspective do they have on it? So I challenge gentlemen out there, if you have been the guy that's been quiet, or thinking you got to shoulder all this weight yourself, or that you always have to figure everything out, or you're all of that because you're the provider, humble your ass a little bit. Talk to your
Mhm.
wife. Tell her what's going on in your head, and say, "Look, I don't want you to solve the problem either. I just want somewhere to talk about it." Because, gentlemen, when you finally take some of those big fears out and you finally shine a flashlight on them, it's like going into the closet with a flashlight. You find out there's no monsters there. There's no monsters there at all. It's all with our head and the stories that we create in our own heads. And as business owners, that's magnified by 10x, because now we have the weight of this business on top of our shoulders too. And that's why so many men end up with alcohol and drug abuse problems, because they're trying to find a way out. And if they just start talking about it, start talking about this to their wives, the ones that love them the most, and that aren't going to judge them. Women don't do that. They're much more emotionally intelligent than we are. It's a chance for her to be able to help too. And you'll be really surprised by how that shifts things in your heart and in your marriage. So I appreciate you bringing that up early on.
Yeah.
It's been a journey myself as well, and down that category. And I tell you, or down that line, and I tell you that it's been a gigantic blessing to know that I've had such a strong ally by my side the whole time, and I was just too proud to ask.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I can't say enough good things about my wife, and
mm,
she's a wealth of knowledge, and I very much admire her advice and her thought process, and how she can analyze a situation differently than me and remove emotion in different
yeah.
ways that I can't. And she's so smart. I mean, there's many times when I would have see no solution to a problem, and she'll
Mhm.
just say something. I'm like, oh, duh. Like, I never thought of
Exactly. You're
it.
like, did I actually ask that question, and it was that answer that
And
simple? And now I feel like an idiot. I couldn't
it's
see
just
that.
business ownership is very lonely. And if you're married or whatever, like, you got to unload some of that. And I tell new business owners that have asked me about advice for starting their business, the number one thing first is your spouse better be on board
Mm.
100% more than
Oh
you,
yeah.
because you're going to need them more than you think you do. That is something that I can say about my wife. She has been more on board with us doing this than I was in the beginning. And without her, nothing. It could not happen without her support and her guidance and advice. And I've heard Dave Ramsey say he's talked about every time he didn't listen to his wife, it cost him like $10,000 or something. And I can
I could see
assure
that.
you,
Yeah.
there's been times when I should have listened and I didn't, and it
Yep.
was not. I should have listened. And so, my heart definitely trusts my wife, and that's what the Bible talks about. She's an incredible woman. So, and
That's great.
anybody out there that you need, exactly what you were saying, Josh. That's the right thing to do, man. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
yep,
appreciate you, Andy. I appreciate you
yeah,
coming on
man. You
here and
too.
us talking more about delegation here. And I'd love for you to tell the listeners how they can find. I know you've got quite a social following. You do some really amazing stuff. So how can people find you if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing over there?
Mulder Outdoors on Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel, Mulder Outdoors. Done some long series on there in the past. I'm trying to do one on building our facility right now. We have a podcast called the Mulder Life Podcast, and that's like a live platform question and answer style podcast that we host on Instagram, and then it gets uploaded on Wednesdays. That usually gets filmed on Mondays live on Instagram. And then I think Facebook is Mulder Outdoors too. So whatever, right? Yeah. Just all
Perfect.
that stuff. So yeah.
I love it. So, Andy, thank you for coming on and spending your most precious asset, your time with us to share what's on your heart. And listeners, I hope you got a lot over the last 4 weeks. I know every time I do a podcast, I learn so much. So people think that it's, it's an opportunity for us to record our conversation that we probably would have had anyway if we just went out to dinner or something like that, and be able to share it with more people. So that's, service and sharing is on our hearts. And this gives us the opportunity. So thanks for continuing to forge forward here on the mission, and to hopefully having lots of value that comes from this. And from our topic today with delegation, if you feel like you can't afford it, the question is, when will you be able to afford it? Right? It's not more money. It's when you finally prioritize your time over someone else's who is much more equipped to do what needs to be done. And when you start that, all of a sudden you start looking for other places it can fit as well. And next thing you know, you have more free time, because we all get 24 hours, no matter if you're, Elon Musk or Andy Mulder. You all have 24 hours, right? And that's just what it is. You choose on how you're going to spend that time, but you don't have to be a jack of all trades, because you will eventually be a master of none. So, Andy, thanks for coming on. And everybody, can't wait to talk to you next week.